podcast. Like if you and I were having dinner, we would have this similar kind of conversation. We had all the time in the world. We could just talk.
Then you're on the same page as me. You know, I started doing it because with my mental illness, I was locked in during COVID. I locked myself in. I had a Mandel mandate.
Right.
And so was my daughter. So I would spend hours with her on the phone, and then I'd go, just call my friend Joe Rogan. Let's call him. We'd put you on. And then my wife walked in and said, "What is this for?" And I said, "It's for nothing." She says, "Record it." And that's how Howie Mandel does stuff. It's just talking to friends. I wasn't going for a podcast.
That's great, though.
I didn't even have advertisers. I didn't hire a company. And now it's my couple of hours a week with my daughter, just talking to interesting people.
It's amazing how entertaining it is listening to people talk. To me, to a person who does it, you would think I'd be tired of it. But even people I don't even really like what they're saying, or people I don't even think they're that interested. I'm fascinated by the way people think about stuff. Like my car got fixed and the guy dropped it off and he drove it to my house and he was listening to this AM political talk show. And so as I'm on my way to work, I'm like, what is this horse shit? And I said, oh, let me listen to this. And it's fascinating to me just because I don't know people like that, people that are like deeply immersed in right-wing politics or talking about everything and all these bills and all this stuff and this congressman's a rhino and this is that and that and this and that. And I'm listening to these guys like, this is fascinating. Like, why is this so fucking entertaining? It's entertaining to listen to how people think about things, even if you don't think the way they think.
Well, most of the world lives in a bubble. Mm-hmm. And they live in a bubble. They don't know they're in a bubble. Everybody here thinks this. Well, everybody where? Everybody. And I can't tell you how many times as somebody who does stand-up comedy where I will land in a town, the driver picks me up, he's your age, and he goes, what's California like? I've never even been on a plane. I've never been outside of this. Right. And I find that fascinating. And they could have a lot of friends. They listen to their radio shows. They listen to their things. Their friends are like-minded. They look the same. They're in the same socioeconomic. That's the world.
Yeah.
And then there are people like you and me and others that we know that are just fascinated. It's not about agreeing. It's not about finding like-minded people. It's just fascinated by, and it's actually more fascinating when they don't agree and you want to hear their point of view.
Yes.
I find that fascinating.
Well, it's very fascinating when you talk to someone who has a different point of view, but they're making sense to you. Yeah. So it makes you reconsider your own ideas.
That's how our politics used to be. We are supposed to be a multi-party, system, and now they don't talk to each other.
It's all bought out, man, unfortunately. It's all run by money now. That's what's scary. There's so much money in politics. You just look at the stock trades these people are allowed to do. Like, it's so bonkers.
You know what I think?
What?
It's AI.
Well, it could be. It could be. It could be AI. That's how AI erodes our trust in civilization and allows it to control us.
Well, it is infiltrated our political system.
It certainly has.
Definitely has.
And not just that, it's infiltrated our influence. Like people are using these bot farms to have arguments. I've seen that before, where you see one tweet and it's repeated by hundreds and hundreds of accounts. And these accounts post, they don't even retweet it. They post the exact same wordage. So they're not even trying to hide it. If you just search that, if you see a questionable tweet, oftentimes you could take it and search that tweet and you go, oh, look at this. There's fucking 50 people saying the exact same thing.
Then it must be true.
And you go to their thing and it's like an American flag and a number behind it and some weird name. And you're like, oh, this is horseshit. This is like a fake account.
Well, I come from an era where if you read it, then it must be true.
Back in the newspaper days.
Yeah, but that was it. Yeah. You'd say something stupid, somebody, where the fuck did you say? I read it. It was in the paper.
That's what was dangerous, right? Because they could just promote propaganda and put things in the paper
but that's what's happening now. That's the internet is our new paper.
Well, also the newspapers are doing it too.
Yeah.
They're doing it too.
They're bought.
Yeah. There's a lot of weirdness going on. There was a thing the other day that was talking about the Nord Stream pipeline. It was in the New York Times. And it was saying that maybe we shouldn't know. Maybe we shouldn't know who did it. Because there's all this speculation the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Sidney Hirsch, who was this hugely respected journalist, he wrote about this. And that's his name, right? Seymour Hirsch, right. I'm Philip Seymour. I'm fucking up. Seymour Hirsch. So Seymour Hirsch writes this article on his Substack about how the United States was involved, and then you have the New York Times saying maybe we shouldn't look into that. That's not your job. Your job is you're a journalist. You're supposed to give the people the pertinent information.
And let us make our own.
Yes. And if your job is now propaganda for national interest, because it would be not in our best interest for the rest of the world to know that we did that, now you're acting as an arm of the state. And now you're no longer acting, unless you think this is like, and this is probably the justification, that this is like, could start World War III. So they feel like they're in this sort of activist position, like a position where they're not just disseminating information.
That's not where the activist needs to be. You know, you don't need it from our news sources.
No.
That's it's supposed to be a fact source.
Yes.
That's why I can't watch any television news, any network.
Right.
Because I don't want to know how you vote. I don't want to know what you think.
It's also they're trying to influence you. They're trying to bend your mind into whatever their narrative is. And it's not just the information. It's in editorialized information almost always. I
think it's more about because, you know, there used to be 3 stations. There used to be the 6 o'clock news, you know, maybe 2 newspapers in every city. They're vying for your eyeballs and ears.
Yeah.
And what gets you there is if you feel there's somebody supposedly like-minded.
Yeah.
You know, that's another, because the news is news. It's all going to be exactly the same. So what makes this one different than that one? Well,
these are my people.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah.